40, 50 million people.
That would be my bucket list, just go to a game in Japan.
Oh my
It would
god,
be so much fun.
alright.
They're such good baseball fans, it'd be so fun.
Like, the pro stuff is amazing, but, I mean, as much as I say this, it's a bad idea to do, but it's like, if you're gonna go for like baseball stuff.
Hey, I forgot to love on Route 88.
Oh, yeah, but like, the high school coaching, like their high school tournament that they do, it's like, just massive.
Yeah, it's like March Madness here, kind of, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but like, be forewarned, because this one, my family actually went, it's like Southeast Asia in the summer, holy cow, you were sweating mother
You got the big white thing right there.
Perfect. Oh, that works
So
perfect.
it's kind of like, okay, but it's like it's a mega thing, and it's great to have, it's like they're showing the games on TV, so like, when we're just pooped, it's like, sweet, it's high school baseball, and it matters,
Yeah.
but you're gonna be sweating like a mother trucker, but I mean, the beautiful things, like, there's like a bunch of stadiums that are like, whether the retractable roofs or already done, so it's like, you can avoid that,
Right.
hopefully.
Yeah.
You can just go whenever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just seeing it on TV, it's mega. Just the atmosphere, it's like, what if soccer fans, but at baseball?
Yeah.
So Danny, are you a Dodgers fan then, or?
No, I'm a Cardinals fan.
Okay.
I don't like or not like the Dodgers. I'm just a baseball fan, so I think it's, I mean, they're kind of the evil empire that
Yeah.
is spending so much money, but I do really like their players. I think it's fun that they have like, you know, some of these superstars and stuff, but.
When I was in high school, I lived in California for 4 years.
Oh, yeah, right, I think we talked about
I
this.
lived in Santa Barbara,
Right.
and the preacher at my parents' church was a big Cardinals fan.
Oh, really?
So every time they came to play the
Oh, that's
Dodgers,
cool, yeah.
he'd load up all of the youth kids
Yeah, sure.
in the van and take us all to Dodger Stadium.
Oh, I would love to go to a game there.
It's
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah, the Cardinals and Dodgers had some good series back in the day.
This was late 80s. So.
Yeah. I think they played in the playoffs one of those years, like black or something, yeah. But, yeah, oh, that's funny.
Back when Oral Hershiser was pitching.
Oh, sure, yeah. Kirk Gibson, yeah.
That was funny though, going in and he's wearing the Cardinals jersey.
Right. Oh, sure, yeah.
That always goes over well.
Fans are like, what are you doing?
But it's not like going to Philly or anything.
Well, I was like when the Cardinals played the Twins last summer, I was wearing my Cardinals stuff. They always travel really well, Cardinals fans, because it's such a Midwestern brand,
Yes.
so we got fans everywhere, so it's kind of fun. But.
My first market was Little Rock.
Oh, yeah, right. And Cardinals fan there,
The team at the time was owned by
So I didn't
the
get
minor league team. The Arkansas Travelers was owned by St. Louis.
Oh,
the
really?
Cardinals.
Yeah.
They've been sold a few times since. But
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But yeah, so you see all the people talk,
Right.
basically you see them in Arkansas one year, the next year they
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so, oh, but before that.
They go off to the basically go off to the Cardinals themselves. Right.
Yeah, Arkansas is big Cardinals. Cable X reaches down.
Right here?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, or at least used to.
My newsfeed yesterday was full of stuff from Arkansas because they got hit by there's a bunch of tornadoes that went through there.
Oh, yeah, there was bad weather in the Midwest, yeah, or not, we're in the Midwest, but yeah, like that area, yeah. I saw like southern Missouri too. Right?
Yeah. When I was down there, March 15th, 2 years in a row,
Yeah, there was tornado.
it basically, 1 year a tornado went through downtown.
Wow, downtown Missouri.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took it was funny because, since we were in that, they had literally just put in a generator.
Oh, yeah.
So when the tornado hit, everybody went out. We were back up in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The ABC affiliate came back on 2 hours later
Wow.
and they were literally like the weather guy in a room like with just a light.
No.
And then
It's only a
KARK came back
circle
on the next day.
You know,
Yeah, oh my
but
gosh.
otherwise it's bearable.
Yeah, we see you.
How are you doing? I'm good. Yeah. Any trouble parking or finding your way?
Now we all
Or
have
is-
the battery backup.
Especially when it comes to areas that
Mhm.
are and then I parked at that empty lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever it was.
Good, thank you.
And
Yes.
then I just walk over.
Good idea. I turned on the street, I did find a place, so. Yeah. I might have paid for some space, but, oh, charity. Yeah.
Okay, good morning and thank you for being here. My name is Gina Schneider and I am proud to serve as the Minnesota Campaign and Advocacy Manager for Compassion and Choices Action Network. We are a movement committed to expanding and protecting options for care at end of life. We believe that every Minnesotan should have the freedom to make personal medical decisions, especially when they are facing the end of a terminal illness. Today, we are urging support for the Minnesota End of Life Options Act. This legislation would authorize medical aid in dying, a safe, compassionate, and voluntary medical practice that allows mentally capable, terminally ill adults with 6 months or less to live request and receive a prescription they can choose to take to end unbearable suffering. This bill is modeled after the Oregon Death with Dignity Act, which has been in place for over 25 years. Since then, 10 states and Washington, D.C. have adopted similar laws, and the data is clear. These laws work. In these states, the laws empower people facing terminal illness with peace of mind, comfort, and control, are primarily used by people with cancer, ALS, and other neurodegenerative issues or diseases. It includes strong safeguards such as multiple steps to informed consent and a requirement that the person be able to self-administer the medication. Ensure that participation is completely voluntary. No doctor, nurse practitioner, pharmacist, or healthcare facility is ever required to take part, and have demonstrated zero evidence of abuse or coercion over the decades of use. We know that most people who use this option are already receiving hospice care, and this law complements, not replaces, palliative and hospice support. At Compassion and Choices Action Network, we hear from Minnesotans every day who are desperate for this option, not because they want to die, but because they want to live fully with dignity, knowing they have control if suffering becomes unbearable. You'll hear today from people who are directly impacted, individuals facing terminal illness, and family members who have lived through the pain of not having this option. Their voices are very powerful, their experiences are real, and they are why we are here today. Representative Mike Freiberg.
Thank you. Thanks, Gina. And thank you to everybody here today. I'm Representative Mike Freiberg. I'm proud to carry the Minnesota End of Life Option Act once again at the legislature. Over the past several years, I've heard countless stories from Minnesotans who want the ability to decide with their doctors and loved ones how they spend their final days. Their message is clear. They want compassion, autonomy, and peace at the end of life. The bill is modeled after a similar law in Oregon, and it includes strong and thoughtful safeguards. The person has to be an adult with a terminal illness and a prognosis of 6 months or less to live. They must be mentally capable of making medical decisions, and they must be able to self-ingest the medication. 2 qualified clinicians must independently confirm the diagnosis and the person's ability to consent. A mental health evaluation is required if there's any concern about judgment or decision-making capacity. The law is voluntary at every level. No patient is required to use this option. No doctor or healthcare provider is required to participate. And importantly, any healthcare facility that opts out must post that policy publicly. We've seen from other states that most people who choose this option do so not because they're in physical pain, but because they want to maintain control, avoid unnecessary suffering, and preserve dignity in the face of death. There's also a broader truth here. This legislation is about bodily autonomy. It's about trusting patients and families to make deeply personal decisions. Just as we trust people to make choices about their medical treatment throughout life, we should trust them to do the same at the end. There's a growing coalition of Minnesotans supporting this legislation: patients, doctors, nurses, caregivers, faith leaders, and families. It's time for Minnesota to join the states who have already taken this compassionate step forward. And with that, I will turn it over to Tom Albin.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Freiberg. My name is Tom Albin. I'm a father, a husband, a retired computer consultant, and a hockey player, and I'm living with ALS for 3 years. It's a terminal neurodegenerative disease that's slowly taking away my ability to speak, eat, and even move. I have mobile ALS, which starts in my throat. Speaking is the first thing. I'm breathing, but my arms are still fine. I can't speak so well, but I can still walk, and a lot of my friends can't walk anymore. But there's no cure. Progression is relentless. And while I've accepted what lies ahead, what I haven't accepted is that I should have no say in how my life ends. That's why I'm here today, to advocate for the Minnesota End of Care Option Act. Because I believe that as my disease progresses, I should have the right to have a say in how my life ends, so that I can choose, if the time comes, to say goodbye, surrounded by love and without needless suffering. Let me be clear, I am not suicidal. I love my life and the people in it, and I'm doing everything I can to live my life fully and meaningfully in the time that I have left. With my medical team, I've done things to extend my life, like a feeding tube and a non-invasive ventilator. But ALS is cruel. It will eventually trap me in a body that can't move, but I will be fully aware of it the whole time, and there's no escape. Dying with ALS is like dying in slow motion. Medical aid in dying would not take anything away from me, but would give me peace of mind to know that if and when the time comes, I can make the choice. And if my suffering is too great, I can make the decision with my medical team and my family to die gently and intentionally. This is about dignity. It's about having the same choice that people in Oregon, California, Colorado, and many other states have. Please, let's bring that same compassion to Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for sharing your story. My name is Becky Sinks. I'm here today not as a lawmaker or a policy expert, but as someone who's lived through the kind of heartbreak this legislation could prevent. My husband, Brad, was diagnosed with a terminal illness, stage 3 brain cancer. He was a strong, proud man who loved his family deeply, but as his disease progressed, the pain and fear of seeing his cognitive skills decline became overwhelming. He begged for an option to end his life on his own terms with dignity and peace, but that option didn't exist here in Minnesota. We had no choice. At the end, Brad died of suicide alone in the most isolating and traumatic way possible. I wasn't there to hold his hand. I couldn't comfort him. He died not only suffering, but in fear, and I will carry that trauma for the rest of my life. If the End of Life Option Act had been in place, Brad could have spent his final days surrounded by love with our family at his side, saying goodbye with grace and intention. I'm here because no family should have to experience what mine did. This legislation is about compassion, control, and preventing unnecessary trauma. To lawmakers, I say, please listen. Listen to the families like mine. Listen to the people like Tom, and give Minnesotans this choice. We deserve it. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to open it up for questions.
Probably a question for the representative.
Yeah.
We have a tie in the House, obviously. Any hope that you have any Republican members join you and be able to pass this issue?
I'm always hopeful. I mean, certainly, if you see the public opinion data polls on this, it's supported by people of both parties. Unfortunately, elected officials tend to be a little slower sometimes to come along to where the people are. But, unfortunately, this is something almost everybody experiences or will experience with either themselves or a loved one. So all it takes in a tied house is one brave person to change their mind and say, this is something that we need, this is something my constituents want. Even if that doesn't happen, I think it's, we're not going to go away. It's important in any legislative campaign to have conversations going forward, and that's why we're not going to stop introducing this bill. I'm going to keep fighting for it. I'm hopeful we can get there this session, but if many times legislation can be a multi-year battle, and if that's what this ends up being, I'm willing to take take as many years as it takes.
It's already been a multi-year battle. Do you feel a bit like Sisyphus here? How many times have you introduced this only to see it not quite get across the finish line?
I want to say I might be in my 9th year of carrying this. I mean, I think the progress has been undeniable. Last session, we made it further than we've ever made it. It made it through 4 separate committees in the House. It kind of stalled in the Senate. But I'm hopeful. Like I said, it hadn't passed. There'd been informational hearings in the past, but it actually passed out of 4 separate committees last session. So I'm hopeful we can get there sooner rather than later.
How many sessions do you have left in your careers that you can make this happen?
I mean, I don't anticipate being here all my life necessarily, but I still enjoy it. So the work generally. So, and I think this is a really important issue that I intend to keep fighting for as long as I'm here. And I know it's broadly supported enough that if I'm not here in the future, there'll be someone else to pick up the torch. Senator May Quaid is introducing it in the Senate. I know she's very excited to be carrying it for the first time. If I'm not here, I'm sure there'll be somebody in the House who's willing to pick it up as well.
And one last thing for me, which is, see Tom here, you've stood next to other families repeatedly. And I mean, I know I kept track of the people you brought here last year. They're all not with us anymore. Over the years, you've probably lost 20 people you've brought in here to promote the bills, I would guess. And just the emotions for you to see Tom and know, this probably won't even pass before he doesn't get the chance to use it.
I guess I did. It's an emotional topic to a lot of people. It's something I think a lot of people have gone through with their loved ones or they are going through it themselves. It's not an easy topic. I've never shied away from difficult topics, but it's a really important one. And from my perspective as a Democrat, it's consistent with the bodily autonomy legislation we've passed before. So, it's that aspect of it is certainly challenging emotionally, but but it only strengthens my resolve too that people shouldn't have to be denied this option because I think it's a compassionate option.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.